Hello and welcome to Talks on Law. I'm Joel Cohen. Today we're joined remotely by a First Amendment scholar and a legal historian. Sarah Barringer Gordon is a professor of law at the University of Pennsylvania. Sarah, welcome to Talks on Law.
Thanks for having me, Joel.
Let's talk about the Lemon test. I want to know, what is the Lemon test? What was it? And then let's talk about its death.
It's reported death.
It's purported death, yeah.
Right. So the Lemon against Kurtzman case, the majority opinion, was written by Chief Justice Berger. And it's a three-part test that requires any law to have a secular purpose. So if the legislature says, we really want to support the Sisters of the Blessed Heart of Mary, so we're going to enact a multi-billion-dollar fund that they can use, that may not have a secular purpose unless the Sisters of the Blessed Heart of Mary are also feeding the poor or something like that. So,
Right.
So credible secular purpose. And second in the requirement is that its primary effect, meaning what it does most of the time, does not infringe on, meaning make life worse for religion, or promote religion. So it's not targeting religion in its effect. That's the second of three prongs, I kid you not. And the third prong is that it not unduly entangle the government with religion. So if the grant to the Sisters of the Blessed Heart of Mary required government officials to spend full time overseeing the administration of the grant and sitting in on all kinds of religious services, you might see that as entangling government with religion. They might be spending too much time together. So that's the Lemon test. And when he wrote that opinion, Berger saw it, and so did the rest of the world, as a summary of the case law over the past 15 years or so, that these aspects had been developed. And because the law was so messy and so out of control and cases just kept coming up, that this three-part test would be of use not only to the Supreme Court justices, but all those poor lower court judges who are having to try to follow the Supreme Court, figure out what the Supreme Court's doing.
And Berger wasn't a lefty liberal judge. He was a Nixon appointee.
He was a Nixon appointee, absolutely, a card-carrying Republican, not a radical left. Yeah. So one of the things that we see, for example, is that how much things have changed over the last 50 years as that case involved funding for public schools. And really, states and the Supreme Court have figured their way around those rules. Instead of sending those millions of dollars right to the religious organization, they send it to parents and allow parents to choose where to send their kids to school. And that indirection means that it's the parents' choice, not the government's.
Going back to Lemon, what happened? What's changed in the last, 20 years? Lemon used to be the way to look at government, at rules that involved establishment, that involves free exercise. What changed?
Well, do you remember those three prongs I talked about?
Yeah.
They're complicated and they're hard to square with each other. If you fail any of them, it violates the Constitution. So lots and lots of cases found violations of the Constitution under the Lemon test. The other is that it's messy, keeping three prongs of a test and the many cases that are involved in each of those three prongs. It's hard, and it requires a lot by those involved in adjudicating them and those involved in arguing them. And the case became unpopular. Justice Sandra Day O'Connor, remember her?
First female justice on the court?
Yes, indeed, appointed by Ronald Reagan, and very interested in the law of religion, said, listen, the real test should be whether or not government is endorsing religion. Is it sending a message to students that we value your religion more than the other students sitting over on the other side? Or if you don't belong to this religion, you won't be included in things. Is it sending a message to citizens or students that the government is on one side or another? And that really became popular for a while and seemed to salvage the Lemon test at some level. But Justice Kennedy hated it. And he had very good critiques of it. And of course, he decided, the prayer case involving the New York State town meeting, Greece against Galloway, and said, this really isn't a problem. Grown-ups are here. This isn't really, we're not sending special messages of endorsement. In fact, that test is a waste of time. And so it's fair to say that both the Lemon test as originally written and the endorsement test have become very unpopular, in part because the Establishment Clause, in some people's eyes, wound up overwhelming the Free Exercise Clause.
So this case, Kennedy v. Bremerton, does this end the Lemon test? Does this end the endorsement test?
And so I think the answer is generally yes. This case, although not totally overruled, is certainly in bad odor, is in a timeout box with a dunce cap on over in the corner. And a number of scholars have been jumping up and down and saying, you didn't even have the guts to overrule it. The dissent said the same thing. And there has been substantial support for overruling Lemon against Kurtzman, but some justices, I'm thinking of Barrett here, say, what are we going to put in its place?